Hi, welcome to Crafted Sweetly. I'm Diana. Thanks so much for being here. In this video, I'd like to show you how to do a reverse color. So instead of doing the image as generally you will see with this being colored, I'd like to show you what I did to create this image where the main pages are colored and then your image remains white. Let's get into this project, and if you have any comments, please do so below. Would love to hear from all my viewers. In this project, I'm starting off with a pattern that's just a regular cut and fold. You can do this just straight. What I want to show you in this video is how to reverse the color. So I'll be doing this horse on here. And I'm gonna start off, I will post this pattern in my Facebook group, so if you're interested in it, you're welcome to join and get the pattern there. It's 367 pages, and then the height is 23.3. A couple of the tools that I'm using are the Incra ruler, because I love this ruler. It makes it so much easier, and it's super easy to use. Instead of trying to figure out, sort of where the lines are, it does have these little holes on it if you're not familiar. So it's easy to just insert the pencil exactly where the millimeter is. And then the other tool that I'm using is my 180 marker. And I'll use this to mark the pages. And it's just a standard 180 fold to start off with. So I'm using a stand here that holds my pages, and I'm just gonna mark this on here. Now for the marking, I'm just gonna use a stylus. For this, you wanna use something that's gonna fit. If you're using my 180 marker, you wanna use something that's gonna fit in between the slats. You don't wanna use anything that's going to, that doesn't fit in or that's gonna force this open. So I'm just going to use a stylus, and you can choose how deep you want to do this. I'm just going to go, because you can, with my 180 marker, you can do basically 5 different markings. You can go against this part, this part, this part, this part, and this part. So that gives you 5 different places you could use. One trick with this is you always want to make sure that this is completely flush. If your book is tilted in any way, for example, as you get towards farther pages and this is tilted, then that's going to make it a little harder. So you always want to make sure that before you mark, you're going to push the spine to make sure that this is completely flush, so that my marker holds it in flat, holds it straight. Now if you're using a binder cover, like the cover to hold the page to mark it, then you don't need to be concerned about that. But with this, you do want to make sure that this is straight, a 190-degree angle here. And I do have videos on how to use this 180 marker if you've gotten this from me. And I also have another video that shows you where you do not need that marker, gives you some options for doing a 180 fold otherwise, or differently. But I'm gonna put this on here and then just mark my pages. I usually go about 10 pages that I mark. You could technically mark the entire book. But what's nice is once you mark it, this is already scored, so it gives you a nice crisp line. Now if you're not holding the stylus at the same angle, you are gonna get that line at different depths in here, so it might not be completely even. So you do want to make sure that the tool that you're using is always at the same angle when you're marking. But it makes it super easy to get a nice crisp line on here. So I will fold this as I usually do for the 180, and then just do a whole bunch of pages. So I'll stop in after I do a few pages and show you with the marking of the pages. If you haven't seen any of my videos, I do have quite a few different ones for book folding, but I'll show you on the book fold pattern, or on the pattern itself. I just have the different marking points for here. And the pages are odd numbers because on the back of page 1, on the back of, I should say, leaf 1, you've got page number 2. So 3, so you're always gonna see just the front of the marking. And I started off, pages match here, so it's gonna be easy to keep track of exactly where I am in the pattern. 5 and 5 once I'm ready to mark it. So I'll fold a few of these and then I'll resume with the rest of the video. Now once I have a few pages marked, I'm gonna take my Incra ruler and just go right down the pattern. So I'm gonna do the first line that's listed on the pattern and just mark the pages. And you can see very tiny dots right there with the markings. Once I have this, I'm just going to use my scissors and cut right to the edge of the where I folded, which is what I do in my 180 folds. These are 1mm cuts right there, so you can see they're really, really tiny. Okay, once you have this point, then this has to be folded in, so I'm gonna leave this part out, and then I'm gonna fold in every other one. So every other tab gets folded in the length of this. And then I just press it a little bit to make sure that this stays flat. Okay, that's only 3 pages that I've done here, but I'm gonna continue doing the book off camera, and then I'll come back once I have this folded entirely and show you what the next step is, which is the fun part with the coloring. And now I just wanted to show you a little progress. I'm about halfway done with the folding portion, so I just want to show you where the book stands right now. This is the back side of the horse. I've got the tail and then the body, so I'm just in the process of hitting like the front legs and then the head. So once I'm done with this, then I'll show you the coloring portion, but I just wanted to show you this stage of the folding. Now once the whole book is folded, this is what it looks like. There's the horse. Probably this angle is a little better. But you may be able to see a couple of these stray because this is kind of trying to be the main. So there were a lot of little fine cuts here and some of them aren't sticking together. So I'm just gonna apply just a dab of glue so these stay put. I'm just gonna put a little bit on my finger because it'll be easier to just touch this. Okay, now the fun part is coloring. So usually what we'll do is, if you've seen any of my videos or if you've seen some of the books done, is the horse will be colored. So you can use this to put a cardstock, strip of cardstock right underneath these tabs, and then you can color the horse whatever color you would like. Can do it black generally is what you'll see, but with other designs it can be something else. What if I tell you that I'm gonna color this horse white, which then you think, well, it's gonna kind of blend in. I'm gonna color this area, and with some book folds that I've done, I'll use a Sharpie to color, and I'll use this when I do a cut and fold. But with the 180, it would mean coloring this side and coloring this side and making sure you get the edge completely. So I found an easier way to color all of this after the book is folded, and then I'll add the cardstock. How am I gonna do that? All right, so to color these, instead of using a Sharpie, which is what I've done with some of my other cut and folds, is you color the page and the Sharpie kind of bleeds through the page. But because this is a folded as a 180, it doesn't bleed enough to go through basically, you know, like double paper here. So you'll have to do one side and then do the other side. So I came up with this quick other way of coloring it, and I'm using these wooden blocks. It's just, this one's round and it's got a nice foamy pad to this. I tried it with this type of felt and it didn't hold enough ink like this. And it didn't quite hold enough ink in this one because the felt seemed to be a little thinner, but this is more of a, almost like a stamp. So I'm just gonna add ink to this and this is alcohol ink. So I just did a line of alcohol ink, and this will be all green. And I'm just gonna hold the page and run it right along this way. And as you can see, it did both sides. And because this is thicker, it kind of hugs the paper as you go back and forth. So this is super easy to color it this way, both sides, super fast. Now on these tabs here, it means just kind of dabbing it, and then on the long ones you can drag it. And then look how nice that is. It's nice and even on both sides with the color. And it's incredibly fast. So you just run this along, and I'm gonna do the same color because again the horse is gonna be white. Alright, so I will continue doing all of this using this ink pad that I created with the wooden block. And once I'm done with it, I'll show you what it looks like before I get on with the cardstock. And then once you've colored all the pages, then this is what it looks like. So I think it's beautiful as it is. You can see the tabs and how even, you know, fairly even the coloring is using that foam. But I wanted to add not so much the color, but I wanted to, instead of this being like an innie on it, I want to bring it all to the same level. So I'm going to add white cardstock for the horse so that it's just an even color with the rest of it. You can kind of see the evenness. I mean, you can see the horse nice and clear on the camera right now, but I think adding the cardstock is really going to finish it off. Totally not necessary. You can stop right there and then just decorate your book, add any other kind of embellishments to it if you'd like, but I will add the cardstock so you can see what it looks like with the cardstock. And you know, obviously this is a good point to stop if you choose to. But it's fun to add different colors to this. So if you're gonna do this part colored and then keeping your image solid color, it could be black, it could be whatever color you'd like. But if you want to add color to this, I think using this type of foam with the wooden handle, it makes it easy to just apply the ink super fast instead of having to apply it to both sides of the page. Alright, so I'm gonna do some cardstock. And for this portion, I wanted to show you adding cardstock to it. So instead of adding colored cardstock for this part, I'm going to add just strips of white cardstock. And if you've seen any of my videos, then you'll see sort of like how I put it behind the tabs here. So I use art glitter glue to glue these cardstock strips down. And you do want to make sure now you can go where just the pattern is, but I think sometimes that's more visible. So I pretty much go from the bottom of the book to the top of the book as far as my strips. And I do want to make sure that the strip itself is all the way against the fold here. So as you can see, it goes right up and it's nice and even. So I'll do a couple more, the few pages that I left here just to show you this portion. Now the mistake that I made when I was doing this, I actually glued down some of the tabs as you saw me explaining earlier. So I had to undo those and so that I could tuck this in. And I was able to undo it because I had only glued the tip part of it. And then my last strip here, right at the edge. Alright, so now for the big reveal of what this looks like with a green. Remove this stand out of the way. Here we go. So there's the horse done with white cardstock. Everything is even if you look at it this way, so there is no depth to it anymore. Certainly nothing wrong with keeping it the way it was, but I think this, you know, this is just an alternative to doing this kind of design to it. If you end up making this or any of my other patterns that I have in my Facebook group, feel free to post that project in my group. I would love to see what you come up with and how your design looks like. And this can be all solid color like I have it here, or you can kind of do different colors to it if you'd like. Now, on this, you can see a little bit of variation with the alcohol ink that I used. So on some of these, it's darker. If you kind of look at it this way, there's some lighter strips and then darker strips right next to it. And the reason that is because I took some alcohol, some 91% alcohol, and diluted added some of it to this so that I can, you know, just make the color go a little longer. But if you want to use just straight alcohol ink, then you're going to end up with the same solid color. But this just adds a little bit of interest to it. If you have any questions, comment below. Would love to see your projects. And if you have suggestions of other videos you'd like to see, please comment below. Certainly always looking for inspiration on my next video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next project.